Hi, my name is Nuala Crilly. I was employed as a project manager with a local community organisation in Derry from 2002 until 2004. That job came to an end in 2004, and at that point in time I decided that I would actually take a career break. I had two children at that point in time, and the youngest was 1.5, and I felt that I wanted to spend more time with my children while they were young. I ended up being out of the labour market, the paid labour market, from 2004 until 2010. I had a third child, and I'd always said as soon as my child hits primary one, I'll go back to work. And the reason I didn't go back any earlier was because with nursery school, the nursery school they went, it was only 2.5 hours a day, and I thought, well, if I go back to work, what am I going to do about childcare after nursery, and what happens if one of them gets sick? What am I going to do then? And you're always juggling. But in the meantime, I was sitting on a board of directors of a community organisation in Creggan Preschool and Training Trust. But in the meantime, I was sitting on a board of directors of a community organisation in Creggan Preschool and Training Trust, and I stayed on that board when I stopped working as their chairperson. And I also started doing different courses that I felt I would need for when I went back to the labour market. I did a cross-border public health leadership programme for women, and I identified that my research skills were not where I would like them to be, so I actually started a master's course with the University of Ulster, distance learning and social research skills. So I was involved in voluntary work the whole time as well. I was with Creggan Preschool Training Trust, and I was also in the North West Breastfeeding Support Network. In 2010, then I dropped my son into P1, and I went over to a women's event and immediately signed up with Kickstart to work because I thought I need to get a CV done. Even recognising the skills that you had, because when you're out of the labour market, you don't actually realise that all the skills you have in the home are applicable to the work setting. I saw this job with this community organisation. It was for a neighbourhood regeneration officer with a local community organisation, and when I had previously worked as a project manager, we had been developing the whole neighbourhood renewal process within the Derry area, and I sat on the board of the very first neighbourhood regeneration partnership in Derry, and I've been involved in the development of the whole process across the city. So I was very familiar with the whole neighbourhood renewal context, but also with the wider community development context, and had done quite a lot of work, paid and unpaid, in that. So I applied for this job. I initially saw it advertised on the Job Centre online website, and I think even then it had said 2 years experience paid full time, and then it had said gained within the past 5 years, and I thought, that's a bit strange. I thought, but I'll get the information about it anyway, and I got the information, and it had that criteria in there, and I thought, that knocks me out. And I thought about it, and I thought, I don't see any reason why that would be there, because I've worked in this field, paid and unpaid. There's nothing that has happened that would require that you had your paid work within these 5 years in order to be able to do this job. So I thought, I'll just apply for it anyway. So I applied, and I didn't get shortlisted. And I wrote a letter and asked, why did you not shortlist me? And they sent back a letter with one reason on it, and that was because your paid work. Well, they agreed I had the third level qualification, and they agreed I had the necessary paid work, but they said you did not gain that in the last 5 years, and that is why you were not shortlisted. One reason only. And that to me was not acceptable. I thought that was really unfair. So I thought about it, and at that point I think I did call the Equality Commission and for some kind of advice, and they said this is the process that you would go through. I lodged the complaint, and then I think the Industrial Tribunal took it on, and I had applied to the Equality Commission for support, and then I got a letter in March saying we will support you. So that was a huge relief, because at that point they took over dealing with all the legalities, and all the information went to them, and I just had to liaise with a senior legal officer. Eventually the outcome was that it was a unanimous decision that there was indirect discrimination against myself, and well, it was indirect discrimination against all women, but it had impacted adversely on me. And part of the criteria that was taken into that judgment was the panel's knowledge and the respondents' general knowledge, that they know that the majority of people out of the labour market looking after children are women. So everybody admitted that and used that as part of the evidence. I just felt it really important to challenge it, because I didn't like being called economically inactive when I was a full-time stay-at-home parent working harder than I've ever worked in my life. I didn't like being called living in a workless household. That really, I felt, devalued me as a person and made me invisible because I wasn't earning, but it also devalued my children. Yeah, well, I'm absolutely delighted that I took the case forward. It was definitely worth it in the end. I got the unanimous decision, and I just think it's really important to highlight how women can be discriminated against in a way that's not obvious, and that employers need to be more aware when they're developing criteria that they're not actually putting in anything, even through ignorance, that might impact negatively on women. And I would actually, if I had to do it again tomorrow, I would, and I would actually recommend to any woman that feels that they've been discriminated against, or anyone for that matter, to seek advice on it and to think about taking it further.